Ever wondered what kind of bra shape each different pattern makes? So have I. So I did an experiment and made 5 different ones using 5 different patterns, and here's what I found out. First up, we have the Black Beauty Bra by Emerald Erin Patterns, and this is in a size 34 double D. So I'm making these for someone else, and I took their measurements and I compared it against every different size chart and then made the size that their measurements corresponded to in each pattern. So this is kind of as is. All I have done is a little bit of sort of stylistic things. So I've added a little bit of lace overlay here and on the sides. I had to kind of widen out the straps here because I didn't continue it on, mostly because I don't sew while tired. But other than that, it's exactly as the pattern has suggested. So what I'm trying to do here is, because these are for someone else, I'm going to compare all of the different shapes and sizes and which style that they like best. So there's a couple of things I did to keep the experiment more under control, just like you would with any actual science. So things that I did to keep things under control. It's the same lining in every single bra. So I have followed the instructions of the patterns, but it's the exact same lining in each one. And it is the exact same power mesh in each one. So this way, as they can try them on, they can go, I like this shape, I don't like this shape, this needs to be adjusted, that doesn't need to be adjusted. But it means I can narrow it down just to shaping of their individual body, but and take out the, oh, maybe I used a different fabric. So that's sort of part one of the experiment. So with the Black Beauty, it's a very rounded kind of shape on the inside, and then it's got this power bar on the outside. So one of the things that I'm kind of looking at here is, does the power bar fit them? Does it squash down the side of them? You know, different ways of how the volume of the actual bra works. So that was number 1. Number 2 is the Marlboro bra from Orange Lingerie. Again, I followed the size chart for the actual bra, and once again I've ended up at a 34 double D. This one, really beautiful. Thanks to my friend Catherine for the lace. It's left over from one of her pieces she made, and I combined it with some other things from my stash. It looks really pretty. I really like it. It's a slightly more enclosed shape than the Black Beauty that we've just looked at, so it's got slightly more coverage. It's basically got the power bar built in, so it's going to be interesting to see how, whether the built-in one shapes you more, pushes you from the side, whether it does cut in, doesn't cut in. So it's kind of nice that that shaping is built into the side. And again, even though it's more of a full coverage, you get a nice rounded kind of look. Again, I've used the same lining, even though it's a different outer fabric, so fit-wise, we're sort of comparing the same to the same. The only thing I did different on this one was I have extended the back straps, the back piece here. So you can see the lengthening here. The Orange Lingerie patterns, in my experience when I've made them for myself, or I've seen people make them in classes as well, they have very narrow back bands. They really advocate a very firm, tight kind of band closure. Almost all the ones I've made for myself, I've kept the same cup size as what my pattern, what my sizing has actually adjusted to, but I've always had to increase the back because I just can't get it on. So I'm basically going to be traveling with these, taking them to someone else. So what I thought would be the sneaky way of doing this would be to extend this panel, get them to try it on, and then if they want to come back to the original sizing, I can literally cut and move the back closure. So it was also the one that once I had them all lined up, all cut out, it was significantly smaller than all of the others. So fingers crossed I've done the right thing in making it a little bit more easy to manipulate and potentially move, and not changed sort of the overall. So it's kind of the one I'm a little bit like, how's that going to work? So I'm going to be interested on that one. Again, the rest is just stylistic differences. I've made the scalloping come over here, but the scalloping is not attached to the power mesh, so the mesh itself can still stretch at the correct rate. And then just mixed and matched in some pieces. So that's number 2, which is the orange lingerie Marlboro bra. Next up is the Harriet from Cloth Habit. The Harriet's one of my favourites to wear, so I thought I would definitely be including it in this experiment. I followed the size chart, and once again I've worked out exactly at a 34 double D based on the sizing that I had. Again, same experiment rules happen, same lining as before, same power mesh on the actual back as well. So tried to keep it as accurate as possible in terms of other things, and then just made some sort of stylistic choices of where I was going to place the lace. This one you've possibly seen pop up in other videos because I've shown this one before, and I have some pieces made myself out of this one. And the mint, I know I've grabbed it from Pit Trading, and I want to say it came from one of the advent calendars. I was trying to remember where I got it. I know it wasn't out of one of the boxes, so I think it was one of the advent calendars. So if you're getting the advent calendar this year and you see some nice of this crystal in a different color, this is one of the ways you can use it. So the Harriet, as opposed to the last two, so if the Black Beauty was slightly rounded with the power bar, and then the Marlboro had the power bar built in, we've still got quite a rounded kind of shape, but it feels higher up. Like it feels like the curvature point comes up higher, and it still has like a moderate amount of coverage. I still think the Marlboro has more coverage. It certainly looks like it should have more coverage. So this one's kind of wider here, rounds up, and then shallows out. So it's going to be interesting to see all of the different shapings, but you can see this one is definitely different. Obviously it's harder when you don't have foam in the bras because you can't automatically see it on. So a little bit of imagination. But anyway, that one's the Harriet. This very pretty lace I have snuck out of one of my Lingerie Society boxes, so it was just so pretty and so perfect for this experiment that I just was like, yoink, I'm grabbing that one. So that one's come out of one of the lingerie boxes, and this pattern is the Contour Atelier Chelsea pattern, and again we've worked out at a size 34 double D. Now I've made this one a few times for myself, and I've reviewed it before on other videos, and one of the things that surprised me in the smaller sizes is it doesn't feel as full coverage. So in my own size, which is bigger, it feels really full coverage, and it feels like the cup comes over much further than it appears to on this one. And I honestly don't know whether it's an optical illusion because of this beautiful lace here, and it's just really surprising. Also in mine, I have two sets of wire sizes, so I normally use a shallower wire for things like the Harriet, but for the Contour Chelsea in my size, I have to use a taller, longer wire to make it fit, and it's quite a significant difference. This doesn't. They all take the same size, which was like, I was like, huh, that doesn't normally happen for me. So it's always fun to use the different sizes as you're learning to figure out where the changes are. But anyway, in terms of the actual Chelsea, it's a single dart, which just pieces through. I've tried to follow exactly how they suggest on the pattern instructions so that it doesn't end up too pointed. It ends up being quite sort of full in the very center of it with a slightly more pointed look than the others. So again, I'm going to be interested to see how this looks. And I've just sort of cut the lace in to take maximum advantage of this really pretty lace. If I flip it to the back, again, covered the lace over the side, but it's only joined on the front so that the power mesh can stretch at the same rate again. I've used the same power mesh. So the power mesh and the lace for all of these came from that one Lingerie Society box. And I tried to use as many of the elastics and hardwares that matched in. But sometimes, you know, I've substituted something in out of the stash because that's all I had. So some of them are kind of temporary until we get the fits right, and then I can swap things out. So don't be afraid of having to unpick and swap things if you need to, as you're trying to get all of your fits correct. So that was the Chelsea. So our last one here is actually the AFI Atelier Maya bra. So the Maya is actually a free bra, and you put in your measurements and it tells you what size you get, and you get one sort of sizing copy sent out to you. And at first I was a bit like, oh, okay, let's see what happens with it. And it's come together really beautifully. It doesn't have a lot of instructions. So if you are new to bra sewing, maybe try and find someone else who's made it before, or look at one of the videos of someone who's put it together, because some of the things might trip you up a little bit. If you're experienced, just go for it, you'll be fine. Again, I've used the same lining and the same power mesh, and the rest is just all things from the stash, though I know that this lace and this all came from Pit Trading at some point. Differences between this bra and the others. Here we have a single cradle, so it's not pieced in any way, which weirdly, when I've put it together, it is one of the widest ones across the bridge. So there's a lot of separation in there. And it has a very full coverage kind of shaping feeling to it. Again, a very high and rounded type shape. But yeah, really full kind of coverage, and it felt like it was really high on the sides. And I don't know whether that's because it's a full cradle, but yeah, it does feel highish on the sides. I went with a strapping that I had in the stash. It's a little bit wide, so it's squishing here. Again, I'm kind of like, well, I can put it together, and then if we like this width of strapping, I can change out the hardware at a different point. Sometimes I'm just kind of like going with what we had kind of thing. So when we put it to the back, again, I've put in a temporary back that I can easily take out so I can check on sizing for it. Same lining and same power mesh. So the back looks very long compared to some of the others. So again, that could be the difference between the multi-piece cradles and the singles, but yeah, it just kind of looks long. If I grab the Harriet, it's also a different shape of back, which I think is sort of one of the things. Sorry, that's not, yes, that's the Harriet there. So yeah, you can sort of see the shaping is a little bit different, and here we've got a different U shape. And I think that if you're trying out different styles, having a different back shape can be a great thing to try, because you're like, I really like this kind of flatter, more lower sort of style, or no, I like a higher, taller one that scoops in. And I know a lot of people like a taller one because they feel like it helps kind of squish that back kind of underarm sort of section. So I think doing an experiment like this, where you can try lots of different styles and see the different shapes, and then try them on, see how they work, wear them for a day, see what works for you and what works for your shape, and how you like to wear it. Like sometimes you might have a shape that's great for wearing under a dress to go out, or sometimes you might have a really good t-shirt style. It's all definitely worth the experiment. So hopefully this information has kind of helped you a little bit, and so you can see the differences between all of the styles. I can put all of them out so you can see all of the different sort of ones together. I don't have my camera up very high today, so I don't know if I can fit everything in shot at the one time, but let's see what we can do. My filming area is very small. It's part of my cutting desk, so it's all quite little, and a little bit DIY. But we get the job done. Okay. So when we start laying them on top of each other, if I just sort of push up. So if we look at all the different ones, so we've got some different shaping coming up. a little bit more length here, a little bit narrower here. And this is what I like about having multiple ones to try. So here you can see when against the Harriet, if I just sort of squish them to one side, you're starting to see the height differences. Even though they're all the one size and based off the one set of measurements, you're starting to see very big differences in how each one works. So sometimes if you're like, oh, one style didn't fit me, I have to keep trying and trying and trying to make it work. Sometimes it might just be the wrong shape for you. So when you look at this, this is a big amount of difference all on the one size. So don't feel discouraged if you don't sort of fit the first thing straight out of the rack. You know, you can always tweak it, fix it, but you know, also don't be afraid to put it to one side and try again. Anyway, hopefully you've liked my little experiment of all these different sizes, and I'll report back and let you know how I got on. I hope you liked my experiment, and I'm really hoping that the person I'm making for finds at least one of these which we can either, yay, hopefully fit right out the box, or do some tweaks to and it works for them. But this way we've done lots of the kind of groundwork and I can figure it out a little bit faster. If you like this kind of stuff, please subscribe. It helps me out so much to know that people are out there watching. And yeah, I'm going to be back soon with more bra talk. Bye.